Have you ever considered the terrifyingly beautiful possibility that this video did not actually exist until you directed your attention toward it? You collapse the wave of probability to find this exact message today. We are going to explore a phenomenon that baffles the logical mind but makes perfect sense to the awakened soul. We are talking about the profound quantum shift that occurs when you suddenly, inexplicably, can no longer stand a food you used to deeply love. This is the observer effect happening inside your very biology. By the end of this transmission, you will completely understand your true power as the sovereign creator of your reality, and you will realize that your body is actively reflecting your spiritual evolution. Tell me, have you ever felt a sudden, bizarre disgust toward a familiar habit or meal that left you questioning your own senses? Before we decode this physical manifestation, we must establish the true nature of the reality you inhabit. In the esoteric framework of our universe, the quantum field is not just empty space. It is a vibrating ocean of infinite possibilities, an endless web of timelines and waves of probability waiting to be realized. And you are not a passive victim wandering through this field. Observation is not just looking at something, it is the ultimate act of creation. Observation is an active, energetic command that forces the chaotic waves of the universe to freeze into solid physical matter. What you expect to see, what you vibrate in resonance with, is exactly what the field delivers to your physical senses. Have you ever considered that the physical world around you is nothing more than a mirror reflecting your internal frequency? Let us talk about the illusion of taste. You have been taught that your preferences for certain foods are purely biological, a simple matter of taste buds, genetics, and cultural conditioning. But what if I told you that from a metaphysical standpoint, your taste buds are actually advanced quantum sensors? They do not just detect salt, sugar, or bitterness. They translate vibrational frequencies into physical sensations. When you consume a piece of food, you are not just taking in calories or nutrients. You are consuming the exact energetic signature of that item. You are ingesting the timeline it belongs to, the environment it was grown in, and the collective consciousness surrounding it. Therefore, when you say you love a specific food, what you are actually saying is that your current energetic state is in perfect resonance with the frequency of that item. You are a vibrational match to it. But what happens when that match is suddenly broken? What happens when the frequency of your consciousness accelerates, but the frequency of the food remains the same? This is where the profound mystery of the quantum shift begins to reveal itself in your everyday life. You are about to realize that your body is speaking to you in the language of the universe. To understand this sudden aversion, we must first deeply explore what a timeline actually is. In the realm of quantum psychology, a timeline is not just a sequence of events moving from the past into the future. It is a specific bandwidth of reality. It is a distinct radio station of existence that you are currently tuned into. Every timeline has its own unique set of rules, its own specific manifestations, and its own designated vibrational requirements. The version of you living on your past timeline had certain thoughts, specific emotional triggers, and very distinct physical habits. That past version of you needed certain dense energies to sustain its reality. Your favorite comfort foods were the exact anchors keeping you grounded in that specific dimension of experience. They were the familiar weights holding your balloon to the ground. But as you have engaged in spiritual awakening, as you have practiced the law of attraction and elevated your thoughts, your internal frequency has violently shifted upwards. You have begun the process of quantum jumping. You are no longer the person you were yesterday, and because a timeline is entirely dependent on the frequency of the observer, your new state of consciousness simply cannot coexist with the physical anchors of your old reality. The bridge has been burned. This brings us to the sudden, almost inexplicable revulsion you might feel toward a meal you once craved. You sit down at the table, expecting the familiar comfort of your favorite dish. But as you take a bite, or even just smell it, your body rejects it. It tastes like cardboard, it smells offensive, or it simply makes your stomach turn. Do not mistake this for a random biological glitch. This is a profound, undeniable symptom of a timeline jump. Your consciousness has outgrown the past timeline, and your physical avatar is desperately trying to catch up. The food represents an old version of your energy field. When you try to ingest it, your newly upgraded system recognizes it as a foreign, incompatible frequency. It is like trying to run outdated software on a brand new, highly advanced operating system. The system will crash, or it will simply refuse to open the file. Your sudden disgust is actually a protective mechanism of your higher self. It is your soul screaming at you to stop ingesting the dense vibrations of a reality you have already escaped. You are literally tasting the vibration of your past, and your newly awakened palate finds it absolutely unacceptable. You have moved on, and your body knows it. Let us go deeper into the biology of this spiritual phenomenon. We must talk about your DNA. Science tells us that DNA is the blueprint of the physical body, a static code inherited from your ancestors. But quantum metaphysics reveals a much grander truth. Your DNA is not a locked vault. It is a highly sensitive, interactive quantum antenna. It is constantly receiving and transmitting information to and from the quantum field. When you shift your consciousness, when you change your fundamental beliefs about who you are and what you deserve, you send a new electrical signal into the quantum field. The field, acting as a perfect mirror, reflects this new signal back into your physical biology. This is the observer effect at a cellular level. Your new level of awareness actually activates dormant strands of your DNA. It literally rewrites your genetic code to accommodate a higher frequency of light and information. As your DNA upgrades, the physical structures it governs, including your neurological pathways, your digestive enzymes, and your sensory organs, must also transform. The sudden inability to stand a formerly loved food is the direct physical proof that your DNA has been successfully reprogrammed by your own consciousness. Consider the observer effect in this very intimate context. In quantum physics, the mere act of observation changes the behavior of the particle. The particle exists as a wave of infinite probability until a conscious observer forces it to collapse into a single physical reality. For years, you observed yourself as someone who needed, craved, and loved that specific food. Through your continuous observation and expectation, you collapsed the quantum wave into a reality where that food brought you pleasure. You created that experience through your unwavering belief. But recently, you have changed your vantage point. You have stepped into a higher state of awareness. You have changed the nature of the observer. Because the observer has transformed, the physical reality being observed must also transform. The food has not changed its chemical composition. A pizza is still a pizza. A sugary dessert is still a sugary dessert. What has changed is the consciousness interacting with it. You are no longer collapsing the wave of probability in the same way. The reality where that food was a source of joy no longer exists in your current quantum field. You have effectively uncreated your past preference through the sheer power of your spiritual evolution. This transformation requires a process of mourning, even if you do not consciously realize it. What you are experiencing is the literal death of your past self, and I want you to understand that this is a beautiful, magnificent thing. Every time you elevate your consciousness, a lower density version of you must perish to make room for the new light. The sudden food aversion is a funeral for the person you used to be. The person who used that food to numb emotional pain, the person who used that food to stay small, the person who resonated with the lower frequencies of survival and immediate gratification, that person is gone. When you look at that plate of food now, you are looking at an artifact from a ghost town. It is entirely natural to feel a brief moment of confusion or even a strange sense of loss. We become deeply attached to our habits because they provide an illusion of safety in a chaotic world. But true safety is only found in alignment with your highest timeline. By rejecting the food that tied you to your old identity, your body is boldly declaring that you are ready to embody the new, expanded version of yourself. You are shedding the heavy armor you no longer need. This phenomenon is part of a larger process known as quantum shedding. Just as a snake must shed its skin to grow, your consciousness must shed its old energetic attachments to expand into the quantum field. This shedding does not only happen with food, it happens with relationships, with careers, with music, and with environments. But food is often the most visceral, immediate indicator because it is something we take directly inside our bodies. It crosses the barrier of the physical temple. When you undergo an intense spiritual awakening, your aura becomes brighter and your energetic boundaries become much more defined. The universe begins to purge anything that causes a disruption in your newly established harmonic resonance. Think of your body as an incredibly finely tuned instrument. If you try to play a heavy, dissonant chord on a violin that has just been perfectly tuned to a celestial frequency, the entire instrument will shudder. The sudden nausea, the metallic taste, or the complete lack of appetite for your old favorites is your body shuddering at the dissonance. It is a violent rejection of anything that threatens to pull your vibration back down into the mud of your previous existence. Let us break down the concept of vibrational mismatch. Everything in the universe, from the most distant star to the apple sitting on your kitchen counter, is vibrating at a specific frequency. Processed foods, foods created in environments of suffering, or foods heavy in artificial chemicals, vibrate at incredibly dense, low frequencies. They are anchored in the frequency of survival, lack, and artificial stimulation. In your past timeline, when you were perhaps dealing with heavy stress, anxiety, or unconscious trauma, your own frequency was a match to those dense foods. They provided a temporary grounding effect, keeping you anchored in the familiar pain of the three-dimensional world. However, as you have done the inner work, as you have practiced mindfulness and aligned with the law of attraction, your baseline frequency has risen dramatically. You are now vibrating at the frequency of abundance, peace, and conscious creation. The gap between your new frequency and the low frequency of that old comfort food has simply become too wide. It is a mathematical impossibility for two vastly different frequencies to harmoniously occupy the same space. The aversion is just physics in action. It is crucial to recognize that food is not just matter, it is stored consciousness and memory. Water has been scientifically proven to hold memory, and the food you eat is saturated with the energy of its environment. When you consume something, you are merging with its stored memories. In the past, you used certain foods to suppress your own painful memories or to recreate the fleeting comfort of childhood. You were eating the emotion, not the nutrients. But as your consciousness upgrades your DNA, you are clearing out those old emotional blockages. You are releasing the stored trauma from your cellular memory. As a result, you no longer need the external substance to manage your internal state. When you try to eat the food that used to bring you comfort, your newly purified cells reject the dense memories attached to it. Your body is saying, "We have already processed this grief. We have already healed this wound. Why are you trying to put it back inside us?" The sudden aversion is a clear sign that you have successfully integrated a shadow aspect of yourself. You have evolved past the need for that specific energetic crutch. Why does this happen so suddenly? Why is it not a gradual fading of preference, but an abrupt overnight change? This is the very nature of a quantum leap. In quantum mechanics, an electron does not travel through the space between orbits. It disappears from one orbit and instantaneously materializes in a higher orbit when it receives enough energy. There is no middle ground. There is no gradual transition. The same principle applies to your consciousness. You may have been doing the spiritual work for months or years, slowly accumulating light and energy. But the actual timeline shift happens in a fraction of a second. It is a sudden collapse of the old wave function and the immediate materialization of the new reality. One day, you are a vibrational match to your old life, and the next day you wake up in a completely different bandwidth of existence. The suddenness of your food aversion is the hallmark of a genuine quantum leap. It proves that you did not just change your mind, you fundamentally altered your coordinates in the fabric of space and time. You skipped the slow, linear process and jumped directly into the new reality. Once you recognize this sudden food aversion as a sign of a DNA upgrade, you will begin to notice other symptoms of this quantum shift happening simultaneously. Pay close attention to your environment. You will likely find that certain places you used to frequent now feel energetically draining. A coffee shop, a bar, or even a friend's house might suddenly feel heavy or suffocating. You may find that certain people you once resonated with now seem to be speaking a different language. The conversations feel shallow, and their energetic presence feels discordant with your own. This is not a judgment against them. It is simply the mechanics of the universe separating incompatible frequencies. Your new DNA requires a new environment to flourish. The food was just the first domino to fall. It was the most intimate and obvious sign the universe could give you to confirm that the shift has occurred. Do not be alarmed as other areas of your life begin to drastically realign. The timeline you have jumped to has a completely different script, a different cast of characters, and a different set of props. Allow the old stage to be dismantled without resistance. A critical warning must be given here regarding the danger of forcing yourself back into old patterns. When the sudden aversion hits, the logical, egoic mind will often panic. The ego hates change. It thrives on predictability and routine. The ego will try to convince you that something is wrong with you. It will say, "You have always loved this food. You paid good money for it. Just eat it." If you yield to this pressure and force yourself to consume the low-frequency item, you are creating a severe energetic block. You are essentially trying to drag your new, high-frequency avatar back down into the mud of the past timeline. This act of forcing creates intense physical and emotional dissonance. It can manifest as severe digestive distress, sudden fatigue, brain fog, or a sudden drop in your emotional state. You are short-circuiting your newly upgraded nervous system. By overriding the deep, intuitive wisdom of your physical body, you send a conflicting signal to the quantum field. You tell the universe that you are not actually ready for the upgrade. To anchor fully into your new reality, you must completely honor the boundaries set by your transforming physical vessel. So, how do you consciously navigate this profound DNA upgrade? The first and most important step is radical acceptance. When the aversion strikes, do not question it. Do not analyze it. Simply accept it as a divine confirmation of your spiritual progress. Celebrate it. Say to yourself, "My consciousness has shifted, and my body is reflecting my new, elevated state." Next, you must become incredibly still and listen to what your body is actually asking for. When old cravings disappear, new cravings will eventually emerge. But these new cravings will not be based on emotional comfort or addictive chemical spikes. They will be based on cellular intelligence. You might suddenly crave pure water, raw fruits, dark leafy greens, or foods you have never even considered before. Your body is intuitively seeking the exact vibrational frequencies it needs to sustain its new light quotient. It is asking for foods that hold sunlight, life force, and high structural integrity. By responding to these new, subtle cravings, you consciously participate in the rebuilding of your physical avatar. You become an active co-creator in your own biological evolution. This is where we must integrate the concept of emotional detachment into your practice of the observer effect. To truly master the quantum field, you must learn to observe the changes in your reality without emotional attachment to the past. When you realize you can no longer stand a food that was tied to fond memories of your childhood, you must let it go without sadness. Attachment to the past is the heaviest anchor that prevents us from soaring in the quantum field. The moment you mourn the loss of your old preferences, you lower your vibration. Instead, View this transition with intense curiosity and deep gratitude. Become the neutral observer of your own transformation. Watch the old desires fall away like autumn leaves dropping from a tree. The tree does not weep for the leaves. It knows that releasing them is essential for surviving the winter and blooming anew in the spring. Practice this powerful detachment. Look at the plate of food you can no longer eat and silently thank it for the role it played in your past timeline. Then, boldly turn your attention forward to the new reality that is rapidly coalescing around you. As you navigate this transition, the quantum field will begin to provide you with profound feedback. This feedback comes in the form of synchronicity. Synchronicity is not a coincidence. It is the mathematical language of the universe confirming that you are aligned with your new timeline. Because you have upgraded your DNA and shifted your frequency, you will start noticing numerical patterns, chance encounters, and perfectly timed opportunities. You might suddenly read an article about the exact new food your body is craving. You might meet someone who shares your newly awakened perspective on health and energy. These synchronicities are the universe winking at you. They are tangible proof that your internal shift is actively rearranging the external world. Every time you experience a synchronicity, take a deep breath and anchor that feeling of awe into your body. This amplifies the electrical signal you are broadcasting into the field. It tells the universe, yes, I recognize this new timeline and I am ready for more. The sudden aversion to old food was just the gateway. The synchronicities are the path leading you deeper into the reality of your own miraculous creation. We are also talking about the literal rewiring of your neural pathways. In quantum psychology, we understand that the brain is entirely plastic. It is not hardwired, it is a dynamic map that changes based on where you direct your focus. Every time you used to eat that old comfort food, you strengthened a specific neural circuit tied to the past version of you. By consciously accepting your new aversion and refusing to force the old habit, you are actively starving that old neural network. Through the principle of neuroplasticity, circuits that fire together wire together, but circuits that are ignored eventually dismantle themselves. As you choose new, high-vibrational foods, you are firing new neurons. You are building fresh superhighways in your brain that support your elevated consciousness. This is how you lock in the timeline jump. You do not just change your mind, you physically reconstruct the organ that interprets reality. Your sudden distaste for the old is the spark that initiates this massive neurological reconstruction. You are literally building a new brain capable of perceiving the higher dimensions of the quantum field. In this new state of being, you must begin to trust your body's wisdom as a divine compass. For centuries, humanity has been taught to ignore the body, to push through discomfort, and to value the logical mind above all else. But true spiritual mastery requires a complete reversal of this paradigm. Your body is not a machine, it is a highly intelligent quantum biological organism. It knows exactly what it needs to align with the supreme frequencies of the universe. When it violently rejects a certain food, it is acting as an infallible truth detector. It is cutting through the illusions of marketing, habit, and social conditioning to tell you the absolute energetic truth about what is on your plate. By surrendering to this inner compass, you bypass the confusion of the ego. You no longer need to rely on external diets, gurus, or rigid systems to tell you how to live. Your upgraded DNA provides real-time, flawless guidance. The feeling of sudden disgust is a gift. It is the voice of your soul, translated into a physical sensation, guiding you flawlessly through the complex labyrinth of the multidimensional universe. Understand that this shift in diet is intimately connected to the manifestation aspect of your reality. The law of attraction is always operating, and it responds to your total vibrational output. Your physical body makes up a massive portion of that output. When your body was filled with dense, low-frequency foods, your manifestation power was sluggish, distorted, and heavily anchored in the material plane. You manifested situations that matched that density. But now, as your body demands pure, light-filled sustenance, your entire physical vessel is becoming a superconductor for quantum energy. The clearer your physical temple becomes, the faster and more accurately you can manifest your desires. A body fed on high-frequency energy does not block the flow of the universe, it amplifies it. The thoughts you think now have much less physical density to push through. Therefore, your intentions collapse into reality with startling speed. The sudden aversion to old food is the universe clearing the physical pathways so that your new, magnificent manifestations can arrive without delay. You are optimizing your physical machinery for the miracles ahead. As you embrace this timeline jump, be prepared for a period of physical and energetic detoxification. When you stop ingesting the old frequencies, the body begins to purge the residue of the past. This is the physical manifestation of releasing old karma and outdated beliefs. You may experience temporary fatigue, strange dreams, or emotional releases that seem to come from nowhere. Do not panic. This is the smoke clearing from the battlefield after a major victory. The old timeline is literally detoxifying out of your cells. Drink massive amounts of pure water, rest deeply, and allow the process to unfold without judgment. View this detox phase as a sacred cleansing ritual. Every toxin leaving your body is a piece of your old, limited identity being washed away. Your newly upgraded DNA is demanding a pristine environment to operate at full capacity. By supporting your body through this purge, you are demonstrating to the quantum field that you are a responsible caretaker of your new, high-frequency avatar. You are proving that you have truly mastered the lessons of the past. Finally, you must realize what this entire experience truly means for your existence. The sudden, inexplicable rejection of something you once loved is the ultimate proof that reality is not happening to you. Reality is responding to you. You are not a victim of your biology. You are the sovereign architect of your entire genetic expression. By simply changing your inner state, by simply observing the world from a higher vantage point, you have forced the physical world to mutate and adapt to your new power. You have stepped fully out of the matrix of unconscious conditioning and into the reality of the conscious creator. The food was just a mirror, showing you the sheer magnitude of your own evolution. The timeline has shifted because you commanded it to shift. Your DNA has upgraded because you provided the light code necessary for the transformation. Stand firmly in this realization. Never again doubt your ability to bend reality to your will. The physical world is fluid, it is malleable, and it is entirely at the mercy of your awakened consciousness. But what does all of this ultimately mean for you? It means you must finally accept the most profound truth of your existence. You are not in reality. You are reality, observing itself. The physical world, down to the very food you eat, is simply the canvas upon which your consciousness paints its frequency. You have outgrown your past timeline. Your DNA has upgraded, and your reality has irrevocably shifted. You are the ultimate observer, the infinite creator of your daily experience. If this transmission resonated with your soul, if you felt the truth of these words in your very cells, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. It helps us spread this quantum knowledge to those who are ready to awaken. To anchor your new frequency and lock in this timeline shift, declare your power publicly. Write in the comments, "I am the observer, creating my new reality." Let the universe see your signature. And before you go, I want to ask you, what specific signs, aversions, or synchronicities have you noticed in your own life recently as your vibration has shifted? Share your experiences below and let us build a community of conscious creators. Until next time, stay aware and keep observing.